Adams budget cuts are hitting 9 CUNY colleges, including Queens College, where more than 24 full-time faculty members have been let go. Some classes have also been canceled. Queens reporter Norlane Kawaja has been talking about this and taking a closer look at the impact of those layoffs as she joins us now with more in our Reporter's Notebook. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
So these CUNY cuts are not something that is totally unfamiliar to people, but this is having a little bit of a different impact.
It is, because these full-time substitute professors feel like they were blindsided in some sense. It was abrupt because it happened 2 weeks before the start of the spring semester. And before they went on winter break, they had signed on through the entire spring semester. So that was the extent of their academic contract, if you will. So they really felt like that there was a lack of transparency when it came to the part of CUNY leadership or even Queens College leadership. And for them, this has a real world impact. These are professionals who feel like that their lives have been upended in some sense, right? So it's not just a lack of income now, but some of them, they have families. So it's also these full-time benefits that have been stripped away. So health insurance, even a pension plan. So while they have the title of being substitute within their title, they are full-time substitute professors. So I do want to stress that. So they were awarded the same full-time benefits as any other faculty member on campus.
And so in those you spoke to, how did they tell you that they're managing, that they're coping? Because I imagine it's not the same to look for a job at this point in their lines of work.
It's not, and that's because they weren't given a heads up. So it's not like they can just quickly find some sort of freelance work, especially when it comes to having a profession in the teaching landscape. And also because we are in the middle of an academic year, it's difficult for them to try to apply and get work elsewhere at another higher education institution. So I had a chance to speak to a professor who was part of the group that was laid off, and he expressed to me that while he was disheartened by the decision, he was offered a part-time teaching position to come back to Queens College, and that's something that he took because he's a father of 2 children. He has a wife, he has a family to support. So for him, it was not just income and health insurance for his family, but it was also out of love for his students and wanting to continue to support his students and mentor them. He teaches sculpture at Queens College, so a very specific medium. But let's take a listen to what he said about his students.
So it's a real gift to have a full-time position at Queens College because it gives you the opportunity to support the students and to help the programs grow. And when you lose that, it's, I think the thing that's most disheartening is just thinking about our students and having less ability, less of a platform to help them.
He seems like such a caring teacher as well in how he's addressing the needs of the students, even under these circumstances that are difficult for himself. But tell us about the students, because as to his point, this is impacting them too.
Yeah, this is impacting them. And one other point about that professor is that in this part-time position, he's getting 1/3 of his full-time salary. So it really is out of care for his students and wanting to see CUNY students thrive and survive. I also had a chance to speak to the head of a department chair at Queens College about how some of his students are parents. They're also people that have jobs. So they're juggling both in their personal lives. So when you cancel classes or when you move somebody's class schedule, it becomes incredibly difficult for them to have to figure out, well, how am I going to manage and keep up, especially the graduate students, with their course load? And also, ultimately, will I be able to find those classes in order to graduate? So there's a real concern for him, especially this department head I spoke to, because he's in charge of the secondary education department, about the pipeline of teachers, Annika, and how that could be impacted for future generations. So let's look at the long-term impact this could possibly have when it comes to teachers in New York City schools. Let's take a listen to what he said.
If you want to have science teachers and math teachers in the next generation and people who know math and science and social studies and art, you need to hire the faculty so that there are seats in the courses so people can go through and become educators.
So I know you reached out to the union as well, representing them. Tell us what they shared with you and their
they're
reaction.
upset because it's not just about and having an impact on academic quality or even morale on campus, but they were quick to point out that according to CUNY, more than 50% of their classes are taught by part-time faculty. And so for them, they see this as being a real problem because they believe that CUNY is operating on the backs of these part-time teachers. And that is something that they think could really impact the powerhouse education that a lot of these CUNY students are receiving and the future of an institution like CUNY. I also had a chance to speak to CUNY. I reached out to them to get their reaction about how they're handling all of this because they're likely really stressed and having to figure out what their budget savings plan is as a result of being put in such a difficult position because of the mayor's budget cuts. And in a statement, they said this request was designed to give these colleges flexibility and discretion to alleviate budget shortfalls in a manner consistent with their distinct needs and circumstances. So they feel like they gave each of these 9 colleges a chance to really dig deep and to figure out where they could, I suppose, trim the fat in some way.
And that is exactly what you just revealed. Nora Lane, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you.